Freedom is one of the most prized values in human history. We long to be free, from oppression, from constraint, from fear, from limitation. And yet, Christian freedom is not freedom from responsibility, but freedom for love. The modern world often defines freedom as autonomy, the ability to choose anything, without interference. But the gospel defines freedom as the ability to choose the good, to love rightly, and to give oneself fully. True freedom finds its fulfillment in agape. Agape, selfless, sacrificial, divine love, is not a limitation on our freedom. It is its highest expression. In fact, without agape, freedom decays into selfishness, isolation, and slavery to desire. St. John Paul II said, "Freedom consists not in doing what we like, but in having the right to do what we ought." And what we ought to do is love, freely, radically, completely. From the beginning, God made us free. In Genesis, humanity is given the freedom to choose, to obey or disobey, to love or to turn inward. Love, to be real, must be chosen. God did not make robots. He made children. He wanted a relationship that was voluntary, not coerced. This is why the tree was in the garden, not as a trap, but as a condition for love. Freedom is essential to the nature of agape. You cannot force someone to love. A coerced gift is no gift at all. The Catechism teaches that God created man a rational being, conferring on him the dignity of a person who can initiate and control his own actions. God willed that man should be left in the hand of his own counsel, CCC 1730. This means we are free to choose love, and tragically, free to reject it. But even when we fall, God never revokes our dignity or our capacity to return to love. He constantly calls us back to freedom through mercy. One of the most powerful biblical images of freedom is the Exodus. God liberates Israel from slavery in Egypt not so they can do whatever they want, but so they can enter into covenant with him. "Let my people go," God says through Moses, "that they may serve me." Exodus chapter 9 verse 1. Freedom is not the endpoint. It is the beginning of a relationship of love. In the desert, Israel learns what it means to be free, not just politically, but spiritually. They are taught to worship, to forgive, to share, to trust. The law is given not as a burden, but as a path to freedom in love. "I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Choose life, that you and your descendants may live, loving the Lord your God, obeying his voice, and holding fast to him." Deuteronomy chapter 30 verses 19 to 20. Jesus Christ is the perfect union of freedom and agape. He says, "No one takes my life from me. I lay it down of my own accord." John chapter 10 verse 18. On the cross, Jesus is not a victim of fate. He freely chooses to offer himself out of love. Every word he speaks, every miracle he performs, every tear he sheds is an act of deliberate, sovereign love. In Gethsemane, he prays, "Not my will, but yours be done." Luke chapter 22 verse 42. This is not submission to a cruel destiny, it is the free surrender of love. The obedience of Christ is the highest expression of freedom, because it is directed entirely toward the good of others. St. Paul marvels at this paradox. "For freedom Christ has set us free. Do not use your freedom as an opportunity for the flesh, but through love serve one another." Galatians chapter 5 verses 1-13. Freedom is not the absence of law but the interior power to fulfill the law through love. Saint Maximilian Kolbe chose to die in place of another prisoner in Auschwitz. He was not obligated, he was free to remain silent. But his freedom found its highest expression in agape, laying down his life for a stranger. Saint Teresa of Calcutta left behind the security of her religious order to serve the poorest of the poor. She was not compelled by any rule. Her freedom led her to a radical life of love. Saint Francis of Assisi renounced wealth, status, and comfort, not out of bitterness, but from the joy of agape. He chose holy poverty so that he could love without restraint. These saints reveal that love is most powerful when it is most freely chosen. They were not forced to serve. They embraced love because they were truly free. The Catechism of the Catholic Church teaches, "Freedom is the power, rooted in reason and will, to act or not to act, to do this or that, for personal responsibility." CCC 1731. The more one does what is good, the freer one becomes. CCC 1733. Freedom attains its perfection when directed toward God, the supreme good. CCC 1731. Thus, agape is not a rival to freedom but its goal. True liberty is not found in selfish autonomy, but in communion with the God who is love. Sin enslaves. It promises freedom but delivers bondage. Every addiction, every cycle of resentment, every misuse of power is a distortion of true freedom. Jesus says, "Everyone who sins is a slave to sin, but if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed." John chapter 8 verses 34 to 36. In the sacrament of confession, we are set free, not merely absolved of guilt, but unchained from everything that blocks us from agape. The graces of confession and Eucharist renew our freedom to love again. Freedom is not diminished when we bind ourselves in love. In marriage, in religious vows, in parenthood, in priesthood, we make promises that restrict some choices, in order to fully realize the one great choice: love. A vow is not a prison. It is a declaration of purpose. It channels our freedom into a single flame. Pope Benedict XVI wrote, "Only the person who trusts in God can freely bind himself to another person in a lasting and faithful way, because he knows that he is firmly founded in the indestructible faithfulness of God." Agape allows us to give ourselves completely, without fear of loss. Because love, when freely given, multiplies. Agape is not just for friends or family. It reaches out to enemies, strangers, and those who seem beyond redemption. Loving them may feel unnatural, but that is the miracle of agape. It comes from God, not from mere emotion. Jesus says, "If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners love those who love them. But love your enemies, and do good, expecting nothing in return." Luke chapter 6 verses 32 to 35. This is not sentimental. It is radical, and it is only possible through grace. To choose to love someone who has wronged you is the highest act of freedom. It declares, "You do not control me. My love is not a reaction. It is a choice, rooted in divine strength." Forgiveness is one of the most difficult applications of agape. It feels like surrender, but in truth, it is liberation. To forgive is to cut the chain that binds you to injury. It is to reclaim your freedom to love. The saints remind us that forgiveness is not weakness, it is divine. Jesus forgave his murderers from the cross. Saint Maria Goretti forgave her attacker. Saint John Paul II forgave the man who shot him. Forgiveness does not condone evil. It transcends it. Catholic social teaching emphasizes that true freedom must be rooted in truth and ordered toward the common good. Agape must inform every system, every law, every policy. Without love, freedom becomes exploitation. This means advocating for the poor, the unborn, the immigrant, the elderly, the voiceless. It means resisting every system that treats persons as objects. Freedom is not license to dominate, but responsibility to uplift. There is no greater paradox than the cross. The most brutal form of execution becomes the sign of perfect freedom. Why? Because Jesus chose it. He was not overcome, he overcame through love. Every time we embrace a cross, be it suffering, loneliness, sacrifice, or rejection, we participate in that freedom. Not the freedom of the world, but the freedom of saints. The freedom to love no matter the cost. Choose silence over gossip. Give when you could withhold. Listen when you'd rather speak. Stay when you want to run. Serve when no one sees. Love when it's not returned. Each small act becomes a doorway into divine freedom. In the end, agape and freedom are not opposites. They are two sides of the same mystery. To love as God loves is to be most fully alive. We were made in his image, to give, to bless, to forgive, to serve. Saint Paul said, "Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom." 2 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 17. And the Spirit is the Spirit of love. Agape does not chain the soul. It liberates it. It removes the shackles of fear, pride, and sin. It gives us the courage to love beyond instinct, beyond repayment, beyond self. To love with agape is to live in the freedom of the children of God.